The very first thing I did after being reborn was head straight for a filthy drainage ditch to find a thick, robust leech. Then, without a second thought, I swallowed it whole. Even as it writhed frantically against the back of my throat, I forced down the nausea and gulped it back. I did it because the gamma-ray apocalypse is coming. Everyone will have the chance to awaken, transforming into the last animal they consumed. Someone once ate a preserved crocodile egg and became a 100-meter-tall behemoth that devoured everything. Another person ate a fried chicken wing and awakened a phoenix bloodline, soaring through the heavens. But in my past life, because I ate a piece of dried rat meat, I turned into a common rat loathed by everyone. In the end, I was crushed to death under the foot of some unknown beast. Now that I've returned to the past, I've obtained the infinite devourer system. The stronger the target I consume, the more energy I receive in return. And in my previous life, this particular mutant leech eventually evolved into the Tao Ti, a gluttonous beast capable of swallowing the world. I stare at the glass box in front of me. Inside sits a leech, its entire body a deep, crimson red. Its bloated frame squirming constantly. It looks like a giant red maggot. Devouring it is the only way to get stronger. So why am I hesitating? Just do it. Stealing my resolve, I roll up my sleeves and reach into the glass box, trying to snatch the mutant leech out, but the creature thrashes wildly, slipping through my grip and sinking its teeth into my finger. The bloody water in the box grows thick and dark. Stimulated by the taste of fresh blood, the mutant leech becomes unnaturally excited. Seeing this, a flash of anger surges through me. I strike fast, snatching the leech out of the water and tossing it into my mouth, swallowing it in one go. Congratulations, host. You have successfully devoured the mutant leech. Genetic sequence extraction successful. Let's see what this new sequence can do. Suddenly, a tingling, numbing sensation spreads through my finger. I look down, and where a large chunk of flesh had been bitten off, countless blood-red threads begin to sprout. In just 2 seconds, they wrap around the wound, and a fresh layer of skin and muscle grows back. This is incredible. Limb regeneration. But that's not all. I can feel a tidal wave of power surging through my body. As if I have a bottomless reservoir of strength, I walk over to the mirror and stand still, staring at my reflection. I'm stunned once again. My original height was around 1.7 meters, but now I've shot up to 1.9 meters. My black hair has transformed into a long, flowing crimson mane, and my gray-brown eyes have turned a piercing scarlet. Looking closer, there's an undeniable, eerie elegance to my new look. After a thorough check of my body, I discover something else. In the palm of my right hand, a mouth has appeared. It looks like a dark abyss, lined with dozens of tiny, razor-sharp fangs. It's identical to the mouthparts of that mutant leech. I can use this to drain the blood of my enemies. However, this realization brings a bit of worry. The dark chaos hasn't officially begun yet. If I look like this, I won't even be able to step out the front door. The moment that thought crosses my mind, my long red hair shifts back to its normal state. The mouth in my palm vanishes as well. My eyes widen in surprise. This is amazing. There are less than 2 days until the dark chaos begins. I still have 2 more chances to devour something. I have to keep going. In my memory, there is a hidden billionaire in Daru City who keeps a rare electric eel in his collection. I remember that after the apocalypse broke out, that eel became a mutated beast, capable of releasing terrifying blasts of lightning. If I devour it and integrate its genetic sequence, I might unlock an even more powerful ability. But with my current status, it's obviously impossible to just go and meet a man like that. Fortunately, he has a daughter, and she just happens to be a student at Qingbei University. I pack my things and head straight for the campus. Soon, I arrive at a deserted park not far from the school. Yanxiutian. This billionaire's daughter lives a remarkably low-profile life. To keep my identity as a rich heir a secret, I walk to this spot every day after school before getting in my ride. Just as I reached the park, I spotted an incredibly stunning figure standing not far away. There was a distinct aura about the girl, a coldness that practically screamed, "Don't come near me." Right then, a Rolls-Royce approached from the distance. 3 bodyguards immediately stepped out, respectfully opening the door for her. Seeing that Yan Xiaotian was about to leave, I stepped out from around the corner. With a faint smile, I spoke calmly to the security team. "This is a stick-up, wait, no, it's a kidnapping." Yan Xiaotian looked at me, her expression completely indifferent. She clearly didn't think I was a threat. After all, these 3 bodyguards were professional military veterans. They had to go through rigorous screening just to become her personal detail. The lead guard charged at me without a word. I casually threw a single punch. His face contorted in pain. He didn't even have time to scream before he was sent flying 5 meters back. He slammed into a crooked tree and blacked out instantly. Yan Zhaotian's eyes widened in total shock. The other 2 guards, who were just about to move, froze in their tracks, completely stunned. Holy crap, 1 punch sent him flying 5 meters? Is this guy even human? Honestly, I was a little surprised too. I didn't realize my strength had become this monstrous. Ignoring the chaos, I walked up to the Rolls-Royce and gave it a testing kick. With a heavy thud, the car handbrake locked and all, was sent sliding 3 meters away. The entire side door was mangled, caved in deeply from the impact. The park fell into a deathly silence. Yan Xiaotian stood there paralyzed with fear, while the 2 remaining bodyguards collapsed to the ground, trembling. I didn't spare the guards a second glance, and walked straight up to her. "Are you after my money?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Or is it something else?" "Call your father, Yan Nanji," I said. "Tell him to bring that rare electric eel from his collection. A life for an eel." Yan Xiaotian knit her brows, her mind struggling to process what was happening. This guy went through all the trouble of kidnapping her, only to demand her dad's rare pet eel? But with her life on the line, she had no choice but to pull out her phone. She called Yan Nanji, briefly explaining the situation, and my specific demand. Meanwhile, inside the Tiansheng Group conference room, a dignified middle-aged man picked up the phone. His face instantly paled, as if he were facing a mortal enemy. "How dare they? This is outrageous. Someone actually has the nerve to touch my daughter in this city? Notify the military immediately," Yan Nanji barked. "Tell them to send their most elite squad for backup. Do it now, and call the best medical team in the city. Have them bring their top-tier equipment, and stand by at the coordinates. Be ready for anything. I'm on my way." After making the arrangements, Yan Nanji had his driver rush home to retrieve the rare electric eel. "I've done what you asked," Yan Xiaotian said. "My father will be here in half an hour." I nodded. After a moment of silence, I spoke up. "In 2 days, an aurora will sweep across the planet. Every living creature on Earth will undergo a mutation, turning into mutated beasts. When that happens, the world order will crumble, and society will plunge into unprecedented chaos. That electric eel will turn into a terrifying monster. If you don't get rid of it, your whole family will meet a local, gruesome end. Believe it or not, it's up to you. I'm not taking this eel for free. In exchange, I'm giving you this life-saving information ahead of time. Consider this a fair trade." This sounds absolutely insane. Yan Xiaotian didn't say a word. She just stared at me like I was a complete idiot. She shook her head in disbelief. I didn't bother explaining any further. First, I sliced a deep gash into my left hand with my right. Immediately after, streaks of blood-colored silk began to surge from my fingers. In an instant, the wound closed, leaving my fingers as good as new. Watching this from a distance, the 2 bodyguards felt their skin crawl in pure terror. Yan Xiaotian stood there, equally shell-shocked by the sight. Your family's business empire stretches across the entirety of Daru City. But when the dark chaos finally descends, resources of every kind will become incredibly scarce. If you trust me, you can choose to follow me. I can lead you through this and keep you alive. Even spirit beast warriors need to eat, drink, and tend to basic needs. I am no exception to that rule. In a world like the one coming, going it alone is never the best option. In these chaotic times, gathering allies is a necessity. The Yan family is clearly a solid choice. Cooperation is the only way we both win. I understand. I'll relay everything you've said to my father. I'll make sure to discuss it thoroughly with him. I'll get back to you with an answer as soon as possible." Right then, the wail of sirens echoed from the distance. A fleet of armored vehicles screeched to a halt in front of them. A middle-aged man stepped out of the lead vehicle. When he saw the mangled wreck of the Rolls-Royce, Yan Nanji's heart sank straight to his gut. But the moment he spotted Yan Xiaotian standing there without a scratch, he let out a long, heavy sigh of relief. I shot a glance at the heavily armed military personnel. Ignoring them entirely, I flashed a smile at Yan Nanji and spoke. "Master Yan, I assume you've brought what I asked for?" Yan Nanji froze for a second, caught off guard. He hadn't expected his daughter's kidnapper to be so young. "Here is what you wanted." With those words, Yan Nanji tossed a briefcase over. I caught the case and snapped it open. Inside lay a blue electric eel, its body shimmering. A pungent, fishy stench of the sea wafted from the case. Without a second thought, I hauled the eel out and began to tear into it. Yan Nanji was absolutely floored by the sight. What the hell is going on here? The soldiers were just as stunned. Did we just run into some kind of psychopath? The moment I finished devouring the eel, a surge of electricity crackled across the surface of my skin. Yan Nanji gasped, his blood running cold. He knew full well that the voltage from that eel was enough to kill a medium-sized guard dog instantly. Ding! Congratulations, host, on successfully devouring a rare electric eel. Gene sequence, extraction, successful. With a single thought, my short black hair surged into long crimson locks. My pupils bled into a piercing scarlet once more. I extended my index finger, condensing a sphere of blood on the tip. The blood orb exploded in midair. The moment the crimson droplets touched the soldiers, a massive surge of electricity tore through their bodies. They collapsed instantly, falling into unconsciousness. Only Yan Xiaotian and Yan Nanji remained standing, completely unharmed. I gave the father and daughter one last look, then vanished silently into the night. There's less than a single day left, before the great darkness begins. I have one last chance to devour something. I have to finish it before the chaos starts. Just then, it clicked. Back at the Daru City Zoo, I remember there being a very peculiar eagle. Its feathers were said to be as hard as tempered steel, and its screech was bone-chilling. I already have my blood armor, and I've mastered the power of lightning. A flight-based ability is exactly what I'm missing. Early the next morning, I headed straight for the Daru City Zoo. I made my way to the cage housing that unique raptor. The moment I arrived, I was stunned. The falcon had already begun to mutate. Its black feathers looked like rows of sharpened blades, glinting with a cold, soul-piercing light. Its pupils had turned into vertical slits, just like a venomous snake's. Right now, the falcon was using its razor-sharp beak to frantically tear at the iron cage. In a matter of seconds, it shattered the bars and lunged straight at me. My pupils constricted at the sight. The falcon's movements slowed down to a crawl in my vision. In a flash, I clamped my hand around the falcon's throat and began to sink my teeth in. Ding! Congratulations, host, on successfully devouring a mutated falcon. Gene sequence extraction successful. I focused my mind, and immediately, a pair of massive black wings suddenly erupted from my back. They spanned 6 meters across, dark and imposing. I kicked off the ground, soaring instantly. I bolted straight into the sky. Suddenly, my phone began to ring. Yan Xiaotian's voice came through the line, sounding frantic and on edge. Mo Bei, something's gone wrong on our end. A few humanoid monsters just burst in. Can you get here, please? Her voice trembled with fear. She was clearly at a total loss, trembling and terrified. Without a second thought, I gave her my word. Following the address Yan Xiaotian provided, I arrived at a food warehouse in record time. Meanwhile, inside the facility, the warehouse was packed with supplies. It was mostly processed goods meant for long-term storage. 2 hideous, twisted figures were staring at the hall with manic glee. Boss, you've got a hell of a brain on you. Taking over this place was a stroke of genius. Ha ha ha. We'll never have to worry about food ever again. A man with a grotesque pig snout and layers of greasy fat laughed uproariously. Beside him, a 3-meter-tall giant joined in with a booming cackle. To think we'd gain these beast-like superpowers. We truly are the chosen ones, blessed by the heavens. Now, we can do whatever the hell we want. As he spoke, the horned man's eyes lit up as he stepped toward Yan Xiaotian. He rubbed his hands together with a repulsive, leering grin. Boss, she's a masterpiece. Huh, a real top-tier prise. The pig man snickered along, his face twisted in vulgar delight. Hearing their disgusting banter, Yan Xiaotian's face drained of all color. Yan Nanji shielded her firmly behind his back, his brow furrowed in a deep, tense scowl. Just as he was about to speak, the roof of the warehouse shattered as something smashed through. Like a falling meteor, I plummeted straight into the heart of the warehouse. For some reason, the moment she saw me, Yan Xiaotian let out a long sigh of relief. The horned man and the pig man narrowed their eyes, their smiles fading. I didn't think anyone else had been blessed by the heavens besides us. Listen, kid, I'd advise you not to stick your nose where it doesn't belong. Otherwise, I didn't feel like wasting breath on these 2 pieces of trash. I delivered a single sweeping backhand. 2 crisp cracks echoed through the room. The warehouse fell into a deathly silence. The workers, huddling in a corner, stared blankly at the 2 monsters, who had been wiped out by a single slap from me. I walked over to Yan Xiaotian and her father. Yan Nanji kept a protective arm around his daughter. Have you reached a decision about what we discussed last time? After a long, hesitant pause, he finally spoke. Friend Mo Bei, if we choose not to cooperate with you, will you eat us? I have no interest in eating humans. The dark turmoil is about to begin. What are your plans now? Hearing that I wasn't looking for a human snack, the group finally breathed a collective sigh of relief. If not for you, Mo Bei, we'd already be dead. From here on out, we'll follow your lead. Yan Nanji looked at me with a burning intensity. In his eyes, I was his savior. If he clung to me, nothing could go wrong. The dark turmoil will descend soon. When it does, every ounce of existing order will crumble. Finding a secure location to build a base is our absolute priority. The security at my villa is top-notch, Yan Nanji offered. The materials are all high-grade. If you don't mind it, Mo Bei, we can go there. I nodded in agreement. Raw power alone isn't enough anymore. Once the dark turmoil arrives, resources of every kind will become incredibly scarce. Further down the line, the environment itself will warp and change. A 10,000-year frost and a decade-long drought will follow one after another. In those times, a secure, fortified sanctuary becomes more than a luxury, it's survival. Once our plans were set, I turned my gaze toward the workers huddled in the corner. If you want to leave, I won't stand in your way, but those who want to stay can follow me. Just know this, in the dark turmoil, it's far more cruel and dangerous than you can possibly imagine. Since you've chosen to follow me, you must obey my orders without question. Everyone responded in unison. Understood. I nodded, satisfied with their reaction. Then, I signaled for them to start moving the supplies. 1 hour later, inside a villa at the Mid-Hill Clouds estate, a father and daughter sat on the sofa, gasping for breath. Mobe, my young friend, should we keep stockpiling supplies? After all, there are so many of us now. We'll collect supplies, of course, but there are more important things to do. The first forbidden zone is about to descend. The resources found there are 100 times more precious than mere food and water. Yan Zhaotian and Yan Nanji traded a look. Although they had no idea what a forbidden zone actually was, they didn't push for answers. Mobai, you said before that if we hadn't taken that electric eel, we'd all have died a miserable death once the dark turmoil broke out. Was that the truth? Yan Nanji froze for a moment upon hearing this. If only we could have power as formidable as yours, Mobe. That would be a dream. Once the dark turmoil begins, an aurora will sweep across the planet. Some people will have a chance to awaken. You'll become the last animal you ate before the aurora hit. However, the probability is entirely random. After I explained the mechanics to them, the father and daughter didn't hesitate for a second. They immediately started stewing a massive pile of ingredients. Then, I had them each eat a full bowl of the mixture. Dozens of different foods were tossed together into a chaotic mess. The taste was naturally indescribable, but to become spirit beast warriors, neither of them wavered. Yan Xiaotian asked curiously, "Is that it? Are we done? That's it for now? We'll see the results tomorrow after the aurora sweeps the earth. Tomorrow, the first forbidden zone will descend. You're coming with me when it does." Time passed quickly, and soon it was the next day. In the darkest reaches of deep space, a strange, pale blue aurora suddenly manifested. It swept across the entire globe in an instant with overwhelming speed. The apocalypse brought by the dark turmoil had arrived. Under the glow of the aurora, animals across the planet began to mutate. They transformed into hideous, bloodthirsty monsters. A stray dog crouched, ready to spring. Its body ballooned to over 3 meters in size. A cold, murderous glint flickered in its eyes. With a guttural roar, it lunged into the animal control squad, unleashing a bloodbath. Meanwhile, back at the villa, Yan Xiaotian and his daughter, who had been on edge all night, finally felt the change. Their bodies began to transform one after another. Yan Xiaotian was enveloped in a brilliant golden light. A sunflower pattern appeared on his forehead, and he began to radiate golden energy. Yan Nanji's height shot up to 3 meters. Her once slender frame was now packed with dense muscle, and a pair of long horns sprouted from her brow. Mobe, my friend, we actually did it. This feeling, this infinite, raw power. My body feels so light. It feels like the whole world is in the palm of my hand. The dark turmoil is here. It's time for the first forbidden zone to appear. Get the men and follow me. We need to grab some resources to power ourselves up. We soon set off in a large truck. 2.5 hours later, we arrived at the entrance of the forbidden zone. Yan Nanji wanted to send someone ahead to scout the way, but I just slammed the pedal to the metal. The truck roared straight into the swirling vortex. Not far away, Yan Xiaotian's persistent admirer, Li Huan, stood with a group of thugs. Watching this scene unfold, his expression turned sour. He thought to himself, how did a broke loser like Mo Bei get hooked up with a top-tier beauty like Yan? And why the hell did he just drive into that mysterious vortex? Someone beside him suddenly asked, what should we do now? Li Huan pondered for a moment. The boss told us to check this place out. If that peasant has the guts to drive in there, then we with our new superpowers have absolutely nothing to be afraid of. Inside the forbidden zone, there was only pitch-black darkness. A thick, suffocating fog clings to everything. High above, a blood-red sun hangs in the sky, radiating an eerie, crimson glow. In that exact heartbeat, the wails of ghosts and the howls of wolves suddenly erupt from the depths of the fog ahead. Everyone inside the carriage snaps to attention, instantly on high alert. There are dark entities lurking within these forbidden lands. You can basically think of them as alien creatures. I calmly press the brakes and turn my gaze toward Yan Nanji. I speak up, my voice steady. Boss Yan, you'd better take the wheel. I'm going to clear a path for us. Before Yan Nanji can even process what I said, I've already vanished from the truck and reappeared on the ground. A second later, a swarm of grotesque figures surges out from the mist. Their bodies are draped in swirling, pitch-black shadows. These things stand a full 2 meters tall. Although they have a humanoid shape, they're clearly anything but human. This is no good, Mobe, my young friend. I know you're strong, but there are just too many of them. I have to get out and give you a hand. Xiao Tian, you take over the driving. Having said his piece, Yan Nancy furrows his brow, reaching for the handle to throw the door open. But right then, a dull, heavy thud echoes through the air. With a casual flick of my hand, I deliver a single slap. The 6 dark entities in front of me are instantly pulverized. They're shattered so completely that not even a drop of blood remains. Jan Nancy freezes, his hand still gripped tight on the door handle. Holy crap, he's completely stunned, staring like an idiot. Dark entities? Are you kidding me? They sounded so terrifying just from the name alone. And yet, he ended them all with a single slap? Yan Zhaotian's eyes shimmer with a new light. As she watches my retreating figure, destroying those monsters with just one hand, she can't help but feel her heart skip a beat. After clearing the creatures in my way, I continue walking forward. The dark entities in this first dungeon generally aren't that powerful. Besides, I awakened my abilities 3 days ahead of schedule. Against these things, I don't even need to trigger my beast transformation. Any dark entity we encounter on the road, regardless of how many there are, gets wiped out by a single strike of my palm. Inside the driver's cab, Yan Nanji and his daughter watch as I continue to one-shot everything in sight. Their initial shock and awe has slowly given way to total numbness. A mischievous smirk plays on Yan Nanji's lips as he looks over at Yan Zhaotian. So, what do you think of this Mobe kid? Yan Zhaotian's face flushes at the question. Dad, what are you talking about? I'm not just talking nonsense. You aren't a little girl anymore. It's about time you started looking for a boyfriend. Didn't you used to be totally against me dating early? I was, that's true. But then again, this Mobe kid, he gives me peace of mind. He's not just powerful, he's sensible, neither arrogant nor impulsive, and he's got a real way with words. He's a rare talent. Having a guy like that for a son-in-law, I could rest easy. Yan Zhaotian feels a wave of helplessness wash over her. Meanwhile, hidden in the fog not far behind the truck, Li Huan and his crew are watching the scene unfold. As they witness me effortlessly slaughtering the dark entities, their hearts can't help but tremble with fear. Li Huan is so livid his teeth are literally chattering. That bastard actually got superpowers too? And he's even stronger than me? God damn it. Just then, one of his lackeys speaks up. Boss, what do we do now? Li Huan exhales a jagged breath. Calm down. No matter how tough he is, at his core, he's still human. And every human has a limit. If he keeps burning through energy like this, sooner or later he's going to run dry. We'll shadow him for now. We wait until he finds something truly valuable. Then we move in. By then, he'll be exhausted, and there are 5 of us. You're telling me we can't handle him then? At the same time, I continue forward, carving a path through the dark. I finished off another swarm of those dark creatures, blasting them into nothingness. I cast a cold glance over my shoulder. My senses have long since surpassed those of a normal human. I've known Li Huan and his group were trailing me for a while now. I can see right through their little scheme. Half an hour passed in a flash. I've lost count of how many dark creatures I've slaughtered. It's a shame these things aren't mutated beasts. They don't drop any cores when they die. If they did, I would have leveled up several times by now. Before long, the truck followed me to the front of a stone platform. Complex, ancient patterns were carved into the stone, pulsing with a faint, ominous red light. It was as if the platform itself were breathing. Alive. Seeing me come to a sudden halt, Yan Zhaotian and his daughter hopped out of the truck. Their eyes drifted toward the top of the high platform. There, they saw piles of metal shimmering with a dark, oily luster, emitting a ghostly, eerie glow. Vajra alloy. It's an incredible construction material. Its strength and density far exceed anything currently found on Earth. We're taking all of this back to reinforce the villa. Yan Nanji didn't waste a second. She swung open the back of the truck and called out, signaling the workers to start loading the materials. Meanwhile, lurking within the darkness, Brother Li, that pile of black stuff, it doesn't look ordinary. Isn't it time we made our move? That was exactly what Li Huan was thinking. He nodded slowly. But just as he was about to speak, a burst of loud laughter rang out from nearby. 3 men and 2 women sauntered out from the mist with arrogant strides. You must be running on empty by now, aren't you? There's no way you can take on the 5 of us at once. Ha ha ha. As soon as the words left his mouth, one of them, a guy with bleached yellow hair, began to swell. He transformed into a 3-meter-tall mountain of flesh. His face shifted into the grotesque visage of a boar. He began lumbering toward us. Every step he took sent a heavy, dull thud echoing through the air. Under the light of the blood moon, that boar face looked absolutely hideous. The sheer pressure of his presence was suffocating. Watching this display, I let out a sharp, mocking scoff. A pair of black feathered wings instantly unfurled from my back. A single feather, crackling with electricity, tore through the air. The violent sound of sparking current filled the space. After a brief, searing sizzle, that mountain of flesh collapsed heavily to the ground. The blonde guy's cronies were frozen in shock. A woman with a wild, edgy hairstyle cried out instinctively, "The dark turmoil. It really has begun." I let out a soft sigh. Kill one. Kill them all. The dark turmoil has officially descended upon us. With those words, the black wings on my back beat gently. Several more feathers whistled through the air. The remaining thugs didn't even have time to transform or dodge. A massive surge of electricity released in an instant. Brother Li, are we still doing this? Every single one of them was paralyzed. From the shadows, the group turned their trembling gazes toward Li Huan. Li Huan's eyes looked ready to pop out of his skull. He was completely numb with terror. Make a move? Are you insane? Did you not see what he's capable of? Run. Get out of here now. The moment he finished speaking, Li Huan turned tail and bolted without a second thought. He had originally planned to wait until Mo Bei was exhausted from the fight, and then swoop in to rob him. Who could have imagined the guy was such a monster? Even after slaughtering all those dark creatures, he can still kill an elite in a split second. Run. He had to run. But the moment Li Huan took his first step, a feather dropped from the sky like a bolt from the blue, piercing the ground just 3 meters in front of him. Did I say you could leave? Hearing that ice-cold voice, Li Huan's entire group began to shake uncontrollably. It felt as if the Grim Reaper himself were staring them down. The chill down their spines was instantaneous. Li Huan pulled his head in like a turtle, his hands trembling violently. High in the sky, Mo Bei hovered, his black wings beating slowly against the darkness. It was as if the Demon Lord himself had slowly descended. With every sweep of his massive black wings, the surrounding mist was scattered into nothingness. Li Huan's eyes narrowed, a flicker of panic darting deep within his pupils. It's over. I need to get out of here. Just then, Yan Zhaotian and the others finally snapped out of it. They realized they were being hunted, and it wasn't just one or two of them. How did Mo Bei sense it? They were all beast warriors, yet they hadn't noticed a thing. Just how did he manage that? Could there really be such a gap between beast warriors? What they didn't know was that while a gap between beast warriors did exist, Mo Bei was in a league of his own. He had 2 more gene strands than the average person, so his senses were naturally far sharper. Hey, Mo Bei. I didn't know you'd awakened this kind of ability too. Congrats, man. Anyway, it's getting pretty late. Gozo, I should probably head back. Let's catch up another time. Drinks are on me. Did I say you could leave? Mo Bei found the whole thing amusing. Before his rebirth, this forbidden zone had appeared for the first time, and Li Huan had been among the very first group to venture inside and explore. Using the materials they scavenged, Cao Menglong had built an incredibly fortified base. Even with many beast warriors working together, they couldn't break through that massive defense. That bastard had coasted, living high on the hog throughout the dark turmoil. Who would have thought that, after being reborn, the same scenario would play out all over again? But this time, those building materials weren't going to fall into Cao Menglong's hands. I have people backing me. Brother Cao is my boss, and I'm his right-hand man. Li Huan turned deathly pale. As he spoke, he frantically dug out his phone, desperately dialing a number. But the very moment the call connected, a feather launched from Mo Bei's hand like a bullet, instantly piercing through the center of Li Huan's forehead. There was no anticipated sharp pain, only a sudden, creeping numbness. The moment the feather struck, a surge of powerful electricity surged through Li Huan's entire body. His limbs stiffened, his eyes wide with utter disbelief. Seeing Li Huan taken out in a single stroke, the rest of them were struck with pure terror. They shrieked as they turned to bolt, but Mo Bei wasn't about to give them the chance. Almost simultaneously, several streaks of crackling electricity arced out, striking them all down. Like Li Huan, they didn't even have time to scream. Before they collapsed, lifeless on the ground, from the dropped phone, a coarse, booming roar echoed. It was Cao Menglong. Who the hell is it? Who dares lay a hand on my people? Who are you? Though he couldn't see the scene, the sounds of his men dying told him everything. Cao Menglong knew. His people had been wiped out. Gao Menglong. Who are you to touch my men, no matter who you are? You're a dead man. Mo Bei remained silent. Cao Menglong was infuriated, feeling the frustration of a man throwing punches into thin air. Where do you live? Give me your address. After a brief moment of silence, Mo Bei finally spoke. Now that a feud had been settled, it had to be handled properly. I'm in an apartment near 5-Star Garden. If you've got the guts, come find me. I'll be waiting. You don't need to try and provoke me. Your address is, I'll come for you when I have time. Mo Bei crushed the phone into dust, then stepped toward Yan Zhaotian and the others. Tell everyone to keep moving the resources. Yan Zhaotian and the others still hadn't snapped out of their shock. They originally thought Mo Bei had brought them to the Forbidden Zone to help him conquer it, but it was clear Mo Bei didn't need them at all. I brought you here, just to give you a taste of what the world is like now that chaos has broken out. In a world like this, showing mercy to your enemies is nothing but cruelty to yourself and those you care about. Meeting the stunned gazes of the father and daughter, Mo Bei suddenly asked, I killed every last one of them, not a single survivor. Do you think I'm being too cruel? Yan Zhaotian shook her head and said seriously, no, they already made a move against us. If we had been the weaker ones, our fate probably wouldn't have been any better. Yan Nanji nodded in silent agreement. Before long, all the King Kong units were loaded onto the trucks. Everyone climbed back in, and the convoy began driving out of the forbidden zone. They didn't run into any other people on the way back, but inside the thick fog, groups of dark creatures continued to emerge. These dark creatures were like low-level mobs in a video game dungeon. They just kept respawning. Seeing Mobei effortlessly one-shot the creatures, Yan Nanji felt an itch to test his own strength. He dropped into a combat stance. His muscles began to bulge and swell, and his height instantly shot up to 3 meters. His suit jacket was shredded to pieces in a split second. Then, a pair of bullhorns erupted from his forehead, as a surge of intense heat pulsed through him. Lowering his head, he charged straight at one of the dark creatures. His sharp horns slammed into the beast, but Yan Nanji was shocked to find that the creature didn't even budge. He threw a heavy punch toward the creature's head, but while he was fast, the dark creature was faster. It swung its hand back and delivered a massive slap, right across Yan Nanji's face. The blow left him completely dazed. In the driver's seat, Yan Xiaotian's mouth hung open. She was utterly numb. Her own father had just been pimp-slapped by a monster. Mobei, however, wasn't surprised at all. Yan Nanji was an invisible tycoon who had lived a life of luxury. He didn't know the first thing about actual fighting. Besides, he had only just awakened. As a spirit beast warrior, he hadn't fully adapted to this power yet. Mobei originally intended to step in and handle these two creatures for Yan Nanji, but the older man refused the help. Relying on his incredibly tough and durable physique, Yan Nanji used a blood-for-blood fighting style, eventually grinding the two dark creatures to death. By the time he climbed back into the truck, he was gasping for air, his body covered in gashes and bruises. He looked like he had one foot in the grave. Young friend Mobei, I'm nowhere near your level. I really thought these things would be easy to handle. I've made a complete fool of myself. Yan Nanji spoke with a bitter, self-deprecating smile. Only after personally experiencing their power did he realize just how terrifyingly strong Mobei actually was. Mobei could take on 6 of them at once, and still end it in a second. Mobei simply offered a faint smile and said nothing. Soon, the group successfully drove out of the forbidden zone and arrived back at the villa. Yan Nanji began directing the workers to unload the cargo, while simultaneously arranging a team to install the King Kong units. Now that the dark turmoil has begun, the sooner they get these units running and turn the villa into a doomsday fortress, the safer they'll be. We've got the resources from the forbidden zone. Now, we need to start stockpiling supplies. Yan Nanji nodded in agreement. It's not just food. We need to hoard everything. Cigarettes, tools, tents, you name it. The more we have, the better. Yan Nanji was stunned for a moment, but then Mobei's meaning clicked. In the apocalypse, food is vital, but other resources are just as important. Just like in a prison, cigarettes will be the ultimate hard currency. In prison, a single pack of cigarettes makes you king. It's the ultimate currency, beyond any regulation. The same logic applies to the world right now. As expected of Mobei, his vision extends far beyond my own. Mobei, I'm coming with you. Fine. Mobei didn't refuse. After gathering a group of workers, he and Yan Xiaotian climbed back into the vehicle and set off. Watching the heavy truck fade into the distance, Yan Nanzi's eyes were filled with a satisfied glint. Without a powerhouse like Mobei to lean on, their lives would have spiraled into a nightmare. They likely wouldn't have survived the night on their own. Leaving the villa behind, Mobei took the wheel, heading toward the largest supply warehouse in Daru City. Come to think of it, this place belongs to the Tiancheng Group too. From the very beginning, Mobei had planned to raid this place for resources. But the distance was an issue, and with the Forbidden Zone opening up, he had to put the plan on ice. I just hope we're not too late. But they hadn't been on the road long before trouble reared its head. A fierce-looking old woman suddenly lunged into the middle of the road, throwing herself right in front of the truck. She hit the asphalt and stayed down, clutching her legs. Her face twisted in feigned agony. She began to wail at the top of her lungs, cursing and shouting between sobs. Help! Murder! He hit me! Someone! Anyone! Look at what they've done! Don't think you're leaving without paying up in supplies. Even Mobei was momentarily stunned by the sheer audacity. Should I go down and handle it? Don't bother. He slammed his foot onto the accelerator. The truck let out a violent roar, charging straight for the old woman without flinching. It takes a monster to deal with a monster. The world is falling into an apocalyptic darkness, and she's still out here running scams? If she wants to die that badly, I'll help her. After that little interruption, Mobei's group reached the warehouse without further incident. The security booth at the gate was deserted. The reinforced steel gates were warped and mangled, torn open by sheer brute force. Looks like someone beat us to the punch. Yan Xiaotian noted, his voice low and grim. Mobei nodded in agreement. He led Yan Xiaotian into the heart of the warehouse. The shelves that should have been bursting with supplies were stripped bare. The massive facility had been almost entirely cleaned out. However, up ahead, two figures were still active, struggling to move a massive shipping container. This container was the heavy-duty steel kind you'd see at a shipping port. No normal human being should have been able to budge it. Usually, you'd need a heavy crane for a job like this, but these two guys were positioned at either end, hoisting the massive steel box onto their shoulders. It was obvious at a glance. These were no ordinary men. The two of them, including a man named Mike, froze when they saw Mo Bei and his companion appear. For a moment, they just stared. "Are you the extra hands boss Cao sent to help us?" One of them called out. "Are you talking about Cao Menglong?" Everything clicked for Mo Bei instantly. What a small world. To think I'd run into Cao Menglong's goons here of all places. It's a safe bet that all the missing supplies were hauled off by that man. Hearing Mo Bei use Cao Menglong's name so casually, the two men realized these weren't their allies. They dropped the steel container immediately. The box hit the floor with a bone-shaking thud. Their bodies began to shift, unleashing their beast forms. They dropped into combat stances. The guy in front sprouted a pair of furry, pointed ears, as two jagged tusks lengthened from his jaw. The other man's frame began to swell grotesquely, transforming into a mountain of raw flesh. In the Dragon Kingdom, pork is a staple of the diet. Consequently, when the dark turmoil descended, a vast number of people awakened, as porcine spirit beast warriors. Take this guy, for instance. His physical defense was pushed to the absolute limit. Mo Bei didn't even blink. He went straight to the point. "Tell me, where is Cao Menglong hiding?" Even though Cao Menglong already told Mo Bei where the base is, it never hurts to be extra cautious. Boss Cao's location. You want it? You're gonna have to go through me first. Today, I'm gonna show you what a real ability looks like. The pig-type soul beast warrior let out a deafening roar. He stomped forward, his massive frame looming over Mo Bei like a mountain. Yan Zhaotian had seen Mo Bei's strength before. She had even watched him in the heat of a bloodbath. But witnessing this up close still made her blood run cold. Mo Bei simply shook his head. Black wings shimmered into existence behind him. With a flick, a single feather shot out like a bolt of lightning. Asterisk. Whoosh. Asterisk. The feather tore straight through the mountain of flesh. Violent currents of electricity surged through the man's flab. A second later, the massive body erupted in a violent explosion. He was dead before he even hit the ground. After dealing with the threat as if he were merely dusting off his coat, Mo Bei turned his cold gaze toward the other man. "Where is Cao Menglong? Please, don't kill me. I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything you want to know." Between his legs, a pale yellow liquid began to puddle on the ground. A pungent, acrid stench filled the air. What kind of monster is this guy? He's at the Xingyun Apartments, right next to 5-Star Gardens. Room 288. Mo Bei reached out his right hand. He plucked another feather and casually tossed it. The feather flew true as an arrow. It pierced the man's forehead. His eyes bulged in shock. He died without even having the chance to blink. "Let's go." To 5-Star Gardens. Mo Bei retracted his black wings. He spoke calmly to Yan Xiaotian. Yan Xiaotian nodded blankly, still in a daze. She followed closely behind him. This youth was terrifyingly strong, but standing by his side, even if they had to walk through hellfire, she felt a strange, absolute sense of security. Even knowing that Mo Bei was heading straight into Cao Menglong's den, Yan Zhaotian didn't feel a single spark of fear. The two of them left the warehouse. They climbed back into the car. Once the GPS was set, they hit the road. Fortunately, it was still the early stages of the chaos. The internet and basic infrastructure hadn't collapsed yet. Everything was still functional. 5-Star Gardens wasn't far from their location. They arrived in less than half an hour. Along the way, Mo Bei and the others saw several supermarkets. Plumes of thick, black smoke billowed from shopping malls. Every now and then, the shockwaves of a distant battle reached them, but Mo Bei didn't care. Right now, taking down Cao Menglong was the only priority. 5-Star Gardens. The moment Mo Bei parked the car, a man in a rugged jacket, chewing on a thick cigar, emerged from the nearby apartment complex with a gang of thugs. He looked like he owned the place. "Are you Cao Menglong?" "You." That voice. Cao Menglong recognized Mo Bei's voice instantly. It was this bastard, the one who slaughtered 5 of his men. He thought the kid was just talking big over the phone. He never expected him to actually show up at his doorstep, and looking at his setup, there were only 2 of them. Meanwhile, on his side, including himself, there were 8 people in total, and every single one of them was a soul beast warrior. "Everyone, get ready. Kill this son of a bitch. Dead. I want him dead. Whoever takes his head first. I'll reward them with 3 whole crates of canned beef." The moment Cao Menglong made the offer, his lackeys reacted as if they'd been injected with pure adrenaline. They let out a roar of approval. Their eyes turned sharp and predatory as they locked onto Mo Bei. Asterisk. Boom, asterisk. They all entered their beast state simultaneously. Features of pigs, dogs, oxen, and sheep began to manifest on their bodies. "Mo Bei, are we really going to be okay?" She knew Mo Bei was strong, but This entire group consisted of Soul Beast warriors. The pressure they exerted after transforming was overwhelming. Yan Xiaotian couldn't help but feel a knot of worry in her chest. Mo Bei didn't answer. Instead, he stared intensely at Cao Menglong. He hadn't even begun his transformation yet. He was calculating every possible escape route the man might take. But in Cao Menglong's eyes, Mo Bei's silence looked like hesitation. That's just a sign of being intimidated. He burst into a loud, mocking laugh. He roared furiously. Then, he charged out first. He slammed a punch directly toward Mo Bei. Mo Bei didn't show a hint of fear. He threw a punch of his own. Their fists collided. A dull, heavy thud echoed out. Sparks scattered in every direction. Surprisingly, neither of them budged an inch. The moment their fists connected, Cao Menglong's arms were instantly covered in fish scale-like armor. My ability lets me manifest scale armor over my arms. Seeing Mo Bei remain silent, Cao Menglong grew even more arrogant. Mess with me, and you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Seeing their boss acting so fierce, his lackeys immediately started sucking up to him. Boss Cao is incredible. Kill that bastard. Looks like we don't even need to step in. Boss Cao can flatten, this kid who doesn't know his place. Yan Xiaotian pursed her lips tightly, looking quite worried. Mo Bei, however, remained expressionless. Blood began to seep from his shoulder, suddenly coalescing into a grotesque electric eel head. The eel's eyes flashed with a piercing light. It suddenly opened its bloodthirsty maw and lunged to tear into Cao Menglong's arm. Cao Menglong didn't dodge. He was confident in his scale armor, thinking his defense was impenetrable. But to his shock, the moment those fangs bit down, they ignored his armor as if it were nothing. They pierced straight through the fish scales and sank deep into his flesh. Then, a massive suction force surged, frantically draining his blood. Cao Menglong finally panicked. Realizing Mo Bei wasn't someone to be trifled with, he tried to scramble back, but Mo Bei grabbed both his shoulders and held him in place. Feeling his life force draining away, Cao Menglong's face turned visibly pale. A bone-chilling cold began to consume his entire body. Once the blood was drained dry, Mo Bei felt his strength returning. The eel head on his shoulder now carried a faint, blood-red hue. That's it? Yan Xiaotian was completely stunned, watching Mo Bei reduce Cao Menglong to a husk. The visual impact was overwhelming, as Cao Menglong's shriveled corpse collapsed to the ground. The cheering lackeys were frozen in terror. Their boss was fine just a moment ago, and now he'd been sucked dry. What the hell was happening? Not human. Run. That was the unanimous thought flashing through everyone's mind. The moment they turned to flee without a fight, Mo Bei stared at them blankly. Black wings sprouted from his back once more, but after absorbing Cao Menglong's blood, they were now streaked with a crimson glow. A split second later, dozens of feathers fired off simultaneously, ruthlessly reaping the lives of the weak. The scene turned into a one-sided slaughter. Before long, Mo Bei had finished the job. Yan Xiaotian stared at Mo Bei, dazed. The metallic scent of blood filled her nose, making her stomach turn, but Yan Xiaotian knew better. In this chaotic world, these things were all too common. Seeing her reaction, Mo Bei was slightly surprised. He hadn't expected a high-born lady like Yan Xiaotian to be able to stomach such a sight. The supplies should all be inside the apartment. Have everyone get out and start loading. Right. Yan Xiaotian nodded, then opened the back of the truck to signal the workers to start loading. When they entered the apartment, sure enough, they discovered the massive stockpile of supplies Cao Menglong had hoarded. The workers were ecstatic, carefully carrying the supplies, terrified of bumping or breaking anything. Box after box was moved out with extreme care. It was all food and daily necessities, things that, in this current world, meant everything. The value of these supplies is worth far more than gold or diamonds. To ensure everything went off without a hitch, Mo Bei took personal charge of the operation. But just as the group set out on the road, the unexpected happened. A massive mutated beast suddenly lunged out, blocking the truck's path. It was a mutated stray dog. Its fur bristled like countless silver needles, throws thick, powerful limbs gripping the pavement. It crouched low, blocking the way forward. Seeing the beast about to pounce, Mo Bei didn't waste any words. He threw the door open and stepped out. The moment Mo Bei's boots hit the ground, from the dark alleys lining both sides of the street, 8 more massive mutated beasts emerged one by one. Every single one of them had mutated from common stray dogs. Most of the monsters appearing in the city were former pets transformed by the mutation. These beasts clearly intended to swarm Mo Bei. Black wings erupted from Mo Bei's back, and he launched himself into the air. A barrage of feathers shot out like bullets, piercing deep into the bodies of the pack in an instant. Controlling them from a distance, Mo Bei triggered a powerful suction force through the feathers. Right before his eyes, the beasts' bodies shriveled and withered at a visible rate. In mere moments, they were drained bone dry. As for Mo Bei, he felt a surge of raw power coursing through him. It felt like he was back at his absolute peak. Every bit of energy Mobei had expended was fully replenished. Once it was over, Mobei walked over to the carcasses. He reached into the remains, searching, until he pulled out several translucent crystal cores. These were mutated cores, the very source of a mutated beast's power. Absorbing them allows one to increase their own strength. Usually, absorption takes time, much like melting down steel. It requires a slow, steady process. But Mobei was different. A sharp, swirling vortex appeared in his palm, forcibly devouring the cores whole. A flood of pure energy rushed into his body, and Mobei's stats began to shift. Name: Mobei. Mutation level: 3. Bloodline rank: none. Gene sequence: number 9527. Opening the system interface, Mobei checked his progress. He'd actually jumped straight to level 3. What does bloodline rank mean, and why is mine currently listed as none? Mobei decided not to dwell on it for now. He got back in the vehicle and drove off with Yan Xiaoting. After 6 back-and-forth supply runs, the villa's warehouse was piled nearly to the ceiling. Looking at the mountain of supplies, even the wrinkles on Yan Nanji's face creased with a wide smile. With all of this, not only could they survive for a long time, they could live in total comfort, especially after hearing Yan Xiaoting's account of how Mobei had effortlessly wiped out Cao Menglong and his men. Yan Nanji's respect for the young man's soared. My friend Mobei, with these supplies, survival won't be an issue for at least 2 or 3 years. We certainly aren't lacking for anything now, Yan Nanji said with a chuckle. Mobei, however, simply shook his head. When it comes to supplies, the more, the better. Who would ever complain about having too much? Besides, Mobei had his own plans for these resources. If nothing else, every scrap of food and gear within a 10-kilometer radius. He intended to get his hands on all of it. Using his powers to fight and scavenge, he worked tirelessly until the sun began to set. Mobei had stripped nearly every nearby warehouse and shopping mall completely bare. As for whether anyone else lived or died, to be honest, it was none of his concern. In a world like this, he only needed to look out for himself. Night fell over the city, and the danger only intensified. By now, everyone knew the score. With mutated beasts and spirits on the prowl, you stayed huddled in your room. But Mobei's villa was a different story. The lights were blazing bright, and the savory aroma of roasting meat began to drift through the air. Under Mobei's direction, a lavish, apocalyptic barbecue feast was being prepared with perfect precision. That scent of grilled meat, it's drifting through the entire villa district. It's definitely turning some heads. Before long, an uninvited guest appeared at the front of the villa. It was a middle-aged man dressed in a formal suit. "Sir, please, I haven't had a hot meal in an entire day. Could you spare me some food? I'm begging you." Seeing the newcomer, a wide, mocking grin spread across Yan Nanji's face. This man ran the Huang group, his biggest rival. They were only slightly behind his own Tiancheng group in power. When Yan Nanji first heard Mobei's warnings about the dark turmoil, he followed the principle that it was better to be safe than sorry. He began fortifying the villa and sent his men out to stockpile food on a massive scale. As luck would have it, this man had caught him in the act back then. He had ridiculed him relentlessly, telling everyone Yan Nanji had lost his mind. He mocked the great CEO for abandoning his company, just to hoard supplies like a paranoid survivalist. "Mr. Huang, I assume you remember how much you enjoyed mocking me while I was gathering these supplies. I'm starving. I'm truly at my limit. Sir, please, look at me. For the sake of our old acquaintance, the president of the Huang group is actually out of food. Stop joking around with me. Ha ha ha. I'm serious. I have nothing left. Every scrap of food in my villa is gone. I won't take it for free, though. We can trade." As he spoke, Huang Jianming ripped off his watch and thrust it toward Yan Nanji. "Mr. Huang, you should know better. In the world we're living in now, a luxury watch isn't worth a damn thing. I have top-tier luxury cars in my garage. Supercars, too. I can give them to you. Take them all." Yan Nanji turned his gaze toward Mobei. "My young friend, Mobei, you're the one who secured all these supplies. So, what do you think we should do?" Mobei raised an eyebrow and smirked. "What do you think, Mr. Yan?" "Then I guess the answer is no." Yan Nanji shrugged, turning his attention back to Huang Jianming. "Do you even have a soul? Are you really going to just stand there and watch me die?" Right then, the other wealthy owners in the district began to emerge. They gathered at the scene, staring at the food with desperate, longing eyes. Most of them were also down to their last crumbs. "We're all human beings here. How can you be so cold-blooded?" Yan Nanji's muscles suddenly surged and expanded, instantly transforming him into a hulking, minotaur-like juggernaut. Hot steam snorted from his nostrils. "Beat it!" A thunderous, soul-shaking roar exploded through the air. The force of it nearly shattered everyone's eardrums. No one dared to linger a second longer. They scattered like startled birds. As they fled, Yan Nanji suddenly let out a reflective sigh. "I built my empire from nothing. Most of the people living here are the old money elites and local tycoons. Back when I was starting out, they did everything they could to sabotage me. They almost forced a hostile takeover of my company. I never imagined I'd live to see the day I'd get my revenge like this. God, that felt good. Mobei just offered a faint smile. He understood that feeling all too well. After that little interlude, the feast continued. Everyone sat back to savor the delicious meat, but Mobei headed upstairs to get some early rest. In his room, Mobei rested his head on his hands, mapping out his next moves. Now that the villa is reinforced, and the supplies are plentiful, it's time to start focusing on my own strength. Down in the courtyard, everyone was eating carefully, relishing every bite of the hard-won meal. Yan Nanji leaned in close to Yan Xiaotian. Xiaotian, be honest with your old man. What do you really think of Mobei? Yan Xiaotian set down her glass, her face flushing a deep crimson as she whispered, Dad, what are you even talking about? Whether she was interested in Mobei or not. How could he expect her to just say it out loud? I don't know. I think the kid is a real catch. He's got the strength and the strategy. If you're actually interested in him, you'd better seal the deal while you still have the chance. It's our only shot at survival in this chaotic world. Honestly, I do have a pretty good feeling about Mobei. Before Yan Xiaotian could even finish her sentence, Yan Nanji was already pushing her toward the villa. Go on, get to Mobei's room. Make your move, and make it official, before the opportunity slips away. Yan Nanji spoke with a dead serious expression. A look of sheer bewilderment flashed across Yan Xiaotian's stunning face. Just as she was standing there, completely lost on what to do, a Cadillac screeched to a halt, right in front of the villa gates. A young man with bleached yellow hair hopped out of the car. The moment he laid eyes on Yan Xiaotian, his face lit up with pure joy. But as soon as Yan Xiaotian saw who it was, her brow furrowed in immediate irritation. Yan Nanji turned to look at the newcomer as well, his expression darkening by the second. He knew exactly who this punk was, one of Yan Xiaotian's persistent admirers. Oh, Uncle Yan, you're here too? Perfect timing. I've officially become a spirit beast warrior now. I came here specifically to confess my feelings to Xiaotian. Given who I am now, surely I'm worthy of your precious daughter, right? Huh. Completely ignoring Yan Nanji's increasingly livid face, Li Qingshan popped the trunk and pulled out a few pathetic-looking cans of food. To make matters worse, they were all long past their expiration dates. Here, take these. Uncle Yan, Xiaotian, please, accept them. Think of it as my betrothal gift for Xiaotian's hand in marriage. What do you say? Times have changed. I'm not the same loser I used to be. Yan Xiaotian turned her head away, her eyes stinging with tears. It wasn't because she was moved, though. It was pure, unadulterated rage. Being pursued by someone like this, it was utterly humiliating. Yan Nanji stepped in front of his daughter, shielding her. I suggest you stay calm. After all, I'm an elite spirit beast warrior now. If you're really that upset, then go ahead, hit me. I'll let you have 3 free hits, if it'll help you vent your frustration. Yan Nanji was already on the verge of snapping, and listening to Li Qingshan's arrogant rambling was finally the last straw. His body began to warp and expand, transforming into a massive, 3-meter-tall muscular minotaur. Every fiber of his being radiated overwhelming physical power. If you can survive 3 of times my times punches, I'll let you marry Xiaotian. Witnessing this transformation, the once confident Li Qingshan froze in his tracks. Wait, you're a spirit beast warrior too? Fine. Let's do it your way then. Take 3 hits from me. If you're still standing after that, I'll give you Xiaotian's hand in marriage myself. Yan Nanji spat out the words through gritted teeth, emphasizing every single syllable. Whoa, hey, we're all civilized people here. Gentlemen use words, not fists. Look, if I'm not welcome, I'll just leave. No big deal. Uncle Yan, I'll take good care of Xiaotian. She's just a normal human after all. She won't suffer if she stays with me. I'll make sure she's well fed and pampered. Get the hell out of here. Driven to a total frenzy, Yan Nanji roared. He snatched up a nearby barbecue grill and hurled it straight at the Cadillac. With a deafening crash, the car was instantly crushed and mangled. Seeing the destruction, a wave of panic surged through Li Qingshan. Clutching his pile of expired cans, he scrambled away in a pathetic retreat. But even as he fled, he couldn't resist looking back one last time. Yan Nanji only wished he had wings. He would have flown after the brat and torn him to shreds. Only after watching Li Qingshan vanish did Yan Nanji shrink back down to his human form. He turned to Yan Xiaotian, speaking with earnest concern. Xiaotian, think over that business with Mobei again. It really is best to make your move early. This time, Yan Xiaotian didn't push back. She was just a bundle of nerves. She gave a small, silent nod. Looking at her father, she thought, they weren't kidding when they said a spirit beast warrior's physique is on a whole different level. And that goes for Times department, too. Mobei is just so incredibly powerful. I honestly don't know if I'll be able to handle him. But a moment later, Yan Xiaotian shook her head vigorously, trying to clear her mind. She was the ice queen of the campus. For heaven's sake, what on earth am I even thinking about right now? The reinforcements to the villa were finally complete. Now, every single corner of the property, including the very foundations deep underground, was encased in diamond steel. Even a direct hit from a missile wouldn't leave a scratch on the villa's defenses. Even if they were besieged by a horde of spirit beast warriors, the villa would remain completely unscathed. Mobei called the Yan father and daughter over and gave them his instructions. We need to level up as fast as possible right now. The best way is to get the people outside, to hunt those mutated monsters for us. We need to get our hands on what's left of them. I need to absorb a massive amount of spirit cores to prepare for the next Forbidden Zone. You can take the supplies we've stocked up and use them as currency for trade. In the apocalypse, might is the only thing that matters. Once they heard their orders, the Yans went out to spread the word exactly as Mobei had asked. It didn't take long for the news to cause a massive stir. After all, in these end times, having a meal is more important than anything else. Over the next few days, Yan Xiaotian seemed lost in thought. She kept replaying her father's advice in her head. Mobei is exceptional. He's powerful, and more importantly, he's handsome. In a dark, chaotic era like this, a man like him is pure gold. If he wanted to, it's only a matter of time before he has a whole harem around him. No, I have to act fast. She thought. I need to seal the deal before it's too late. But she had always maintained a cold, distant image at school. Even with that icy expression, she never lacked suitors. But now, to actually confess to Mobei, to take the initiative and cook the rice, so to speak, she had absolutely no idea where to even start. While Yan Zhaodian was lost in her daydreams, several cars pulled up outside the villa. A few figures climbed out of the vehicles, lugging heavy snakeskin bags. Inside were the spirit cores of mutated beasts. Mobei had been watching them through the surveillance system, and already knew exactly what was happening. He opened the gate and walked out to meet them. The moment they saw Mobei, the men became incredibly polite and submissive. They knew this guy was a total beast. Don't get the wrong idea. We aren't here for trouble. We just want to trade for some supplies. These are all spirit cores we got from hunting mutated winged beasts. Seeing Mobei remain silent, the men hurriedly pointed to the cores inside the bags, explaining themselves. Mobei gave them a quick scan. There were at least a dozen cores spread across the bags. He looked away, satisfied. Mobei had some men bring out supplies to complete the trade. Then he took the spirit cores back inside. Once back in the villa, Mobei gave one spirit core each to Yan Xiaotian and her father for them to absorb. It wasn't that Mobei was being stingy. It was because for an average spirit beast warrior, absorbing a core was an exhausting process. A single core would take the two of them a long time to process. By now, the two of them had learned about the function of spirit cores from Mobei. Knowing this was the key to leveling up, they didn't hesitate to start the absorption process. Mobei, on the other hand, simply placed a core in the palm of his hand. Suddenly, a small mouth opened in his palm, and he swallowed the core whole. Just like that, a mutated core was completely absorbed. When the father and daughter saw that Mobei had already finished 2 whole bags, their jaws hit the floor. They were utterly stunned. They were all spirit beast warriors, so how could the gap between them be this massive? The man was a total monster. The following days passed relatively peacefully. Every now and then, people would show up with cores to trade for food. Mobei accepted every single one. He had more than enough supplies stockpiled. Even if everyone in the city of Dalu came to trade, he could handle the demand. And the vast majority of those cores, he absorbed himself. Mobei's strength has officially surged to level 9. Feeling the raw power fortifying his physical body, Mobei muttered to himself, but as much as this power matters, I'm more interested in devouring a new gene. I wonder when the next chance to devour a gene will finally unlock. Night fell silently. Mobei headed back to his room early to get some rest. Suddenly, the faint sound of footsteps echoed from outside the door. Moments later, the heavy door was pushed open with a gentle creak. A slender figure clad in pajamas tiptoed through the gap and slipped inside. Is there a thief in the villa? Or has an old enemy come knocking? If it's not a common crook, and it's not a rival, then who is sneaking into my room like a ghost? Mobei didn't have to wait long for the answer. It was Yan Xiaotian. As the silhouette crept toward the bedside, Mobei could already catch a scent. That faint, sweet fragrance unique to Yan Xiaotian. Gone was the Ice Queen campus belle persona she usually wore. There, in the darkness, she stood by the bed, her face flushed a deep crimson. She tried to steady her breathing, desperately trying to summon her courage, but her heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would leap out of her throat. After spending all this time together, I really have developed feelings for Mobei. Besides, he saved my entire family. If he hadn't taken care of that electric eel, both my father and I would be dead right now. A debt of life should be repaid with everything I have. Then, she made a bold decision that defied her usual reserved nature. She lifted the corner of Mo Bei's blanket and quietly slid in beside him. Mo Bei, who was lying there with his eyes closed, pretending to sleep, was completely stunned. He honestly thought Yan Zhaotian was up to something nefarious, like she was turning on him despite everything he'd done. He was actually ready to strike back and teach her a lesson. He never expected her to pull a move like this. "What are you doing?" Just as Yan Zhaotian settled in, still trying to calm her racing heart, Mo Bei's voice suddenly rang out. She let out a sharp, startled scream. Yan Zhaotian's face burned with intense embarrassment, but then a thought struck her. "I've already come this far. I can't back out now." Before Mo Bei could react, Yan Zhaotian suddenly spun around and threw her arms around him. Before he could utter another word, her soft, warm lips pressed against his, silencing him. That night, the moonlight rested quietly upon the floor, unable to reach the rising heat and passion within the room. The next morning, Mo Bei woke up early, feeling completely refreshed and invigorated. As for Yan Zhaotian, she didn't manage to get out of bed until nearly noon. Even then, she walked with a noticeably awkward limp. The atmosphere in the living room was a bit tense. Sensing her father's eyes on her, Yan Zhaotian's face turned bright red. She wished the floor would just open up and swallow her whole. Yan Nanji, however, was practically glowing with inner joy. "Ha ha ha," Mo Bei suddenly spoke up. "Good morning, Boss Yan." "Ah, Mo Bei, my young friend, what you young people get up to is none of this old man's business, nor do I care to make it mine. You two just do as you see fit. By the way, Mo Bei, a lot of people came by this morning to trade for supplies." Mo Bei nodded, opened the suitcase, and began absorbing the crystal nuclei inside. In just a matter of minutes, the pile of crystal nuclei was completely drained. "Congratulations, host, you have reached level 10. You have gained one, Devour opportunity. New features unlocked. The host can now devour mutated animals, plants, and insects. However, Mo Bei isn't quite clear on the significance of bloodline levels yet. But that doesn't matter right now. He has another chance to devour. And even better, he can now target mutated flora and fauna, which broadens his options immensely. The next step is to find that parasitic device. That piece of equipment is absolutely broken. It's essentially like having a second life. Finding it will be incredibly difficult though. Before my rebirth, this set of legendary gear was originally discovered by Pang Dahai, the heavenly master of Mount Longhu. Relying on its power, he eventually rose to become one of the top powerhouses in the Dragon Kingdom. But the real key is his divination technique. The man has a supernatural knack for sniffing out hidden treasures, which means for now, I have two clear objectives. First, find a new target to devour. Complete the evolution. Then, find Pang Dahai. I need him by my side when I enter the second forbidden zone. With his mind made up, Mo Bei headed out with Yan Zhaotian in tow. To secure that resurrection gear hidden within the forbidden zone, I have to bring the heavenly master, Pang Dahai, under my command as soon as possible. The two left the villa, roaring toward Mount Longhu in a sleek red Ferrari. This wasn't a supply run, so there was no need for the heavy truck this time. Naturally, Yan Zhaotian eventually asked about the purpose of this trip. Since she's one of my own now, Mo Bei didn't see any reason to keep her in the dark. He explained everything Pang Dahai's divination abilities, and the resurrection gear waiting in the second forbidden zone. He laid it all out for her. Yan Zhaotian was absolutely stunned. Wait, so it's literally a guardian angel suit? Like a real-life extra life? She couldn't believe such equipment actually existed in the real world. But then she remembered the dark turmoil had already broken out, and even plants and insects were mutating into horrific monsters. Suddenly, a resurrection suit didn't seem so impossible. The road ahead was surprisingly clear. There were hardly any other vehicles in sight. After 2.5 hours of uninterrupted driving, the two finally arrived at the foot of Mount Longhu. Mo Bei wasn't there for the scenery. He slammed the car into park right in front of the Taoist temple's main gate. Just as they stepped out, the heavy temple doors creaked open. A chubby man in Taoist robes stumbled out, rubbing his bleary eyes. He let out a long yawn. "If you're here for blessings, you can exchange supplies for incense. Preferably food. We're running low." Suddenly, Mo Bei blurred into motion. His fist whistled through the air, aimed straight for Pang Dahai's face. "Gah! Hey! What are you doing? Stop!" Mo Bei didn't waste breath on words. He was just getting warmed up. At the critical moment, Pang Dahai, still clutching his head, suddenly went pale. He dropped straight to his knees before Mo Bei. "Mercy. Great hero. Have mercy. I get it, I messed up. I was wrong. I'll give you whatever you want. Just please, stop hitting me." Yan Zhaotian blinked her wide eyes, her face a mask of total confusion. Seeing them both hesitate for a split second, Pang Dahai's eyes darted around. In a flash, he scrambled up and bolted back toward the inner temple. This lunatic is bullying an honest man. Help! While the generations of heavenly masters on Mount Longhu did practice cultivation to strengthen their bodies, those techniques were nothing compared to the raw, reinforced physique of a spirit beast warrior. What the Mount Longhu lineage truly excelled at was the art of talismans. However, he had only just woken up. He was wearing nothing but a thin inner robe, and he hadn't brought a single talisman with him. Asterisk. Just wait until I get my hands on my talismans. Asterisk. Asterisk. I'll beat you so hard you'll be crying for your mama. Asterisk. Once he reached his stash, Pang Dehai's confidence instantly surged, but in the next heartbeat, the smug grin on his face froze completely. Mo Bei glanced at the stack of talismans. A single feather shot out from his back, piercing straight through the entire stack of high-level talismans, left behind by the ancestral masters. If I said I was just joking earlier, would you believe me? Mo Bei remained silent. He just kept his fists moving. Until he was sure Pang Dehai was reliable, he had to beat him into absolute submission. The lesson lasted for a full 30 minutes. Pang Dehai couldn't even scream anymore. His voice was completely gone. His body had gone numb from the pummeling, until he couldn't even feel the pain. Can we please stop now? Let's talk. The second forbidden zone is about to open. I need your divination skills to assist me. I'll compensate you with plenty of supplies. As soon as Mo Bei finished speaking, Yan Xiaotian took the cue and walked out of the temple. She headed for the Ferrari to grab the goods. Damn it, if you wanted to collaborate, why didn't you just say so from the start? It's best that you've agreed to cooperate. Because if you don't agree,